La palabra a la doctora Karili González, que tiene un breve resumen de nuestro conferenciante, a lo cual con mucha admiración y mucho orgullo, pues tenemos aquí en nuestro campus.
Gracias al decano García. Queremos también darle la bienvenida, ¿verdad?, a los decanos y al rector que se encuentra aquí con nosotros también, al doctor Mesa. Nuestro invitado especial habla inglés, ¿verdad? Así que voy a presentarlo en inglés para que él sepa lo que estoy hablando. Pero para nosotros es un honor tener una persona de gran envergadura en nuestra institución. Y quiero agradecer también a la doctora Lucilva, que gracias a ella es que lo tenemos aquí. Él va a participar de la conferencia, de la segunda conferencia anual de toxicología forense aquí en Puerto Rico, que es el jueves en el recinto de ciencias médicas. Así que los esperamos a todos aquellos estudiantes, ¿verdad?, que puedan hacer el esfuerzo por asistir. Son de las pocas conferencias que damos en Puerto Rico especializadas en forense. Empieza el registro a las 8, ¿verdad? Empieza el registro a las 8. Así que están todos cordialmente invitados. Pues sin más preámbulo. Profesor Lemos is a chartered forensic scientist who begins his career in analytical and forensic toxicology, focusing on drug analysis in fingernails and other biological specimens. He worked as a senior lecturer at London South Bank University, where he contributed to the development of a new undergraduate courses in forensic science. In 2001, he moved to St. George University of London to become the head of the Forensic Toxicology Service within its analytical unit. He supervised the provision of toxicology service to HM coroner, home office pathologists, and police force, and co-supervised the research of numerous medical and graduate students training in the analytical unit. In 2003, he became chief forensic toxicology and director of the forensic laboratory division at the office of the chief medical examiner of the city and county of San Francisco in California, USA. Professor Lemos coordinates the effort of forensic pathologists, toxicologists, investigators, and scientists towards accreditation by the National Association of Medical Examiners and the American Board of Forensic Toxicology. He also heads the design of the forensic laboratory spaces of the new medical examiners facility in San Francisco. Lemos has academic affiliations in San Francisco, San Luis, and Athens. He is actively engaged in various national and international professional organizations and is a member of the Chartered Society of Forensic Science, Fellow of the American Board of Forensic Toxicology, Fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry, and Fellow of the American Academy of Forensic Science. In 2008, Lemos was elected chair of the toxicology section of the American Academy of Forensic Science. Dr. Lemos consults and testifies in criminal and civil cases around the world. He was testified in over 325 cases and has offered opinions to assist the courts in response to subpoena issued by both prosecutors as well as defense attorneys. He has organized and hosted numerous professional scientific meetings in the UK and US, including the 2011 Joint SOCTIA meeting with over 1,500 participants from 60 countries. I am He has co-authored over 80 peer-reviewed papers, abstracts, and book chapters, including the first ever study of cannabinoids in fingernails and the first ever study of cannabinoids in postmortem toxicology. He has also served as science editor for Medicine, Science, and the Law, the official journal of the British Academy of Forensic Science. Additionally, he has received numerous scholarships, research, and equipment grants and awards. In 2005, he was honored with a proclamation of achievement by the Congress of the United States of America for dedicating his life and career to community safety and social awareness. Thank you, Dr. Lemos.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a very long introduction. So, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
How is my Spanish? Non-existent. So we're gonna either speak Greek or English. Così no sei in casas? I figured. So it's gonna be English. All right, listen, thank you for hosting me. I am delighted to be here. It actually is 25 years since the last time I came to Puerto Rico, which is unacceptable. So more frequent invitations, please. You don't have to wait 25 more years. Today, you're all here, and you probably wonder, why did they tell us to come here to this guy? Why is he so important? Why do I have to take my afternoon to listen to him? So I'm going to try and convince you that nobody's as important as they tell you. You need to believe in yourself. So I hope to convince you, and I hope to be your friend for now and for the future. There's one smart person already in the room. Her name is Yamna, I think. Is that correct? Acosta? Are you here? You are my newest LinkedIn friend. Thank you. So happy. So that's a smart person, making contacts. Don't be shy. Go out there and find out, why are they inviting me to listen to this person? So thank you for honoring me with this kind of request. So today I'm going to tell you that nobody wants to be sued, or they don't want to hear your complaints. If I say something that you don't like, these are my opinions. So the City of London, the University of London, Cameron Forensic Medical Sciences, they're washing their hands. They're like, Nikolas, you're on your own. Whatever you do, you do. We don't want to actually hear it. So let me tell you, it took me 28 hours to get here yesterday because I traveled from Athens, Greece, where I was visiting my 95-year-old dad. So I went from Athens to London, from London to Miami, and from Miami to heaven. So here I am. But it's not just the journey that I'm referring to. We are here, and I'm delighted to be here, but I'm actually going to take you back there so you can see that sometimes unexpected things can lead to good things. So this is the map of Greece. It's at the bottom right of the European continent. And over there is the border between Greece and Turkey. And there is that little rock, population 800. That's my home island. And here I am, director of this city and that city, and forensic and expert. Forget it. You can do whatever you want, and nobody can stop you as long as you put your mind to it. And you have some exceptional leaders and role models here. So it can happen to me. Oh, by the way, that's me. It can happen to you. I thought I'll break the ice by showing you how ugly I turned. Right? So that's a cute boy there. What happened to him, I don't know. But I'll tell you, the journey continues. I studied like you did. No clue what forensics was. Geography, French, my second language, c'est français, English, chemistry, physics, biology, whatever. It's sciences. You know, nobody knew forensics in the previous millennium. And that's me. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just fool around and have a good time. I really did not care about college or what the future meant. And then I decided, my dad was like, okay, you got to get serious. I'm sending you to New York. It's like, oh, New York. I thought I was going to the city. Said they sent me to Buffalo. In the middle of January, 1989. Yeah. This is what the picture showed on the leaflet. This is what they teach you is a blizzard when you learn English as a second language. This is what I had to live through for 4 long years. I thought, Dad doesn't like me at all, right? So then I started by studying biology, like every good scientist, and then I came across cell biology. How can something as small as a cell have a textbook of 843 pages? That's not for me. I was like, I'm switching quickly to chemistry. And then chemistry did it for me. I became very bored. I memorized pretty much every chemical bond. I could synthesize pretty much every drug before Breaking Bad. And I was like, okay, what happens now? So then somebody mentioned that. And I was like, for who? Forensic what? And so I met a professor, a retired police officer who had a lab somewhere at the edge of the campus in Buffalo. His name was Professor Nikolas P. Never looked back. Studied chemistry and criminal justice from a joint degree that was new back then. And I hear we have some criminal justice student or department representatives here. Excellent. And so I got my Bachelor of Science before your parents were probably born, which is fine. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to New York City. I did my duty. And so I went to New York City. I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice. And this was the time where the O.J. Simpson case was happening. So half of my department was consulting for the prosecution of O.J. Simpson and the other half for the defense. And it was remarkable to see how the same piece of evidence can be interpreted in different ways based on what agenda you have. You want somebody to look guilty, you make it look this way. You want somebody to look innocent, you make it look that way. So lots and lots of courses back at John Jay. Trace and transfer evidence, photography, interview skills, public speaking. It's incredible. You could be the best forensic scientist on the planet. If you go on the stand and fall apart, your science is no good to anybody. Only to you. You only know it, you only appreciate it, but the jurors, they will never hear because they're having too much fun watching you fall apart. So confidence, you need to build that confidence. And we're not born all confident. We're definitely not all born confident. We need to make sure that we keep practicing. Analytical instrumentation, DNA, and then I did a very wise thing, which I never knew would be so wise. In 1995, 30 years ago, I joined the International Association of Forensic Toxicologists. I completed an online form, paid $50, and I thought, how wrong can it be? I'll put it as a line on my resume. I have never benefited from anything other than this. The people whose textbooks I was reading, they were having tea with me and coffee. We were going on excursions during annual meetings, and then they were asking me questions that triggered more research. All those books that I was reading and articles, their authors were now my fellow members. Join early. You will have a career full of contacts, I promise. I got my master's in analytical toxicology, and I actually worked on bio, which is a terrible, terrible thing I did back then. I didn't know better. My supervisor had me work on rats. I don't like working on animals now. I think we can find other models, but that's a different presentation. So I used to be in New York City at 4 o'clock in the morning, commuting on the subway to go to give my rats cocaine. And then I would get them booze, alcohol, and see how the alcohol elimination was affected by the cocaine habit I had delivered to them. Crazy stuff, I promise you. I wouldn't do it now, but it really made me an ape. So then I thought, okay, enough with the States. Let's go back to Europe. I went to Scotland. This is all because of that stupid word that's so important to me, forensic. I went to Scotland. Somebody said to me, come to a PhD at the University of Glasgow. It's like, Scotland. Isn't that part of England? No, that's the worst thing you can tell a Scot. England and Scotland are two different countries. So I learned that they have beautiful lochs, lakes. And I learned that I have to wear a skirt, and their cows look very funny over there. I also learned that I will need a lot of liver transplants, because every meeting that I had included this with my academic PhD supervisor. You know, they have 300 scars, and so I had to try each one of them. But I did a lot of work, and I published a lot of papers. And in academia, if you're not published, you don't exist. So if you want to get in a field, whether you're a seasoned scientist who now want to become a forensic scientist, pair up with a scientist who does research and get your name on a publication. Or if you're a student, publish. Go to your supervisors with ideas. I'll give you some today for projects. The doctorate came in 1999, and you heard, then there was 2003, chief toxicologist in San Francisco, which was incredible because I was the youngest ever chief toxicologist in any US city. And people were like, why are you giving this kid so much power? Because you are the future, the kid, the new ideas. I was new back then, now you are. In 2005, the forensic lab got a toxicologist for director. Unheard of. In every other county, it was the DNA director, because they are always more important than anybody else. I love them, don't get me wrong. I was married to several one of them. In 2011, great honor, hosted a joint meeting of TIAFT and SOF. Now, this is an organization I joined in 1995. And then in 2011, they put the responsibility of hosting their annual meeting in my hands. And so we had a really good meeting, right?
Yes.
But we went on a cruise to Alcatraz Island, and there was not a single wave on the bay. Just like you got your good weather out for me, I got the good weather out for us. 2018, moved to London to be the director of the Forensic Medical Sciences. Now, that's also a problem, because medical doctors don't like toxicologists to tell them what to do. Because, as you know, forensic pathologists are the gift of God to humanity. And if you don't know that, learn. 2022, that TIAFT organization I joined in 1995, they actually elected me on their board as a member. And then in 2023, hosted the London 60th anniversary meeting of TIAFT. I have a love affair with TIAFT because they have helped me all along. Join as soon as you can. And look, today I'm traveling to Puerto Rico to talk to you about booze and blunts. So that's the highlight of my career so far. So this is who I was. This is TIAFT. Consider it. You know, you have a very good tool here. Colleagues that you will never, ever get a no from if you ask them for help or assistance or anything like that. And next November, actually this November, we're meeting in New Zealand for our annual meeting. So think about that. All right. So this is who I am. This is why I'm here. This is because I have used forensic toxicology and forensic sciences to gather not one, nor two, but 3 passports. I have a Greek passport, a USA passport, and a UK passport. So trust me, when I fly, I get through a lot of security questions. People don't like it when I fly. So alcohol. Alcohol, as you know, is very popular around the world. The alcohol consumption in the US is about 10 liters or so. But, you know, there are some other countries that use more alcohol. I want you to consider that alcohol is a really tiny molecule. And actually, for those of you who have a little bit of chemistry background and understand fermentation, it is very, very easy to make. This is why I don't like science as much as I used to. Like, are you kidding me? My students say, do we have to remember the formulas for the exam? If I don't remember them, you don't have to remember. Google it. So, very small molecule, but the problem with it is that because it's infinitively soluble in water, if you drink it, you will actually get alcohol molecules in every cell of your human body. Simple as that. It will go everywhere. Now, I'm not going to embarrass anybody, but is there anybody in this room who does not drink alcohol? All right. The minority will stay silent. So in Western society, we consider it so ubiquitous that it's everywhere. We consider it like a social drink, but it's a drug. It's a drug, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else. It's a drug, just like tranquilizers, narcotics, sedatives, and hypnotics. It is the same thing. The biggest issue is that it was much weaker when Dionysus, the ancient Greek god of alcohol, was making it much, much weaker. Here we have some, you here in Puerto Rico and other places have some alcoholic drinks that are pure poison. That's what I say, officer. So it is a drug, and we have to treat it like a drug, okay? And I'll tell you, produces euphoria, just like narcotics. Produces depression of your central nervous system. It's a respiratory depression. It makes your breathing shallower. You can develop tolerance and dependence. On the other hand, because it's so much weaker, it takes huge doses of alcohol to get this kind of effects. For example, when you have a headache, you take 200 milligrams of ibuprofen. With alcohol, you need to have grams to get drunk. Okay, so much, thousands of times more. So it is really, really important for you to also remember that drugs, and alcohol is one of them, we established that, like to mimic specific receptors in the body. They don't do anything to the body, but they just pretend to be a neurotransmitter that likes to do things. And so the drugs like alcohol bind to receptors and activate or deactivate some activity or some abilities. And so that's why it is really important for you to treat it as a drug, because you're changing the way your body is stimulated or inhibited. The most important thing that happens when people get drunk or intoxicated is they go through a curve of symptoms. The first one is considered subclinical. Nobody knows that you had a drink. Then it's euphoria, the happy drunk. Then it's excitement, the loud drunk. Then it's confusion, the annoying drunk. Then stupor, the passed out drunk. Coma, and death. So let me tell you, if you ever have a friend in college or at home that had too much to drink, you do not let them sleep it off. Because from stupor to coma is just a little tiny difference. Remember, euphoria, I'm happy, and all of my inhibitions are finally suppressed. I have the courage now to go and ask somebody to dance with me. Why? And then I say all the funniest jokes, even though they're dumb. The excitement. I'm loud. All of my dance moves are amazing. I'm John Travolta, only I'm not. That's the excitement. You know? The confusion. Forget about it. I'm trying to open the apartment's door for hours and hours and hours, not realizing that I'm actually on the wrong floor. I didn't go to floor 3, I'm on floor 2. And my downstairs neighbor's like, go upstairs or I'll call the cops. And then, as I said, when somebody is in the stupor situation where you don't let them sleep it, you cannot, because they will continue to absorb alcohol and they could become comatose and die right there on your sofa while you let them sleep it off. So it is also important to know that alcohol likes to get a lot of things excited, but one of the things that it doesn't do in a nice way is the fact that it binds to the GABA receptor, which is something we have in our body that is coupled with chlorine ions. The chloride ions that we have are negatively charged, for those of you chemistry buffs. That helps neurons become less excitable. Chloride is negatively charged, we become less excitable, stuporous. That's a big issue. That's the basis of intoxication. So this is our GABA transmission without alcohol, and you can see the chloride ions right there. They're beautiful, they're in their green, they pass. We are excitable to a degree, but then if you bring alcohol, those bean-shaped things in the equation, then you have a lot more chloride ions passing, which means much, much more subdued. We are going to sleep it. And that's why we have sleepiness and sedation when you're intoxicated, muscle relaxation, and all the other things. Unfortunately, also the human body doesn't treat each drug you expose yourself to it by itself. It doesn't say, well, first I'm going to deal with ibuprofen, and then I'm going to deal with the alcohol that Nikolas drank, and then I'm going to handle the cocaine he snorted. The human body sees everything all at once. And actually, alcohol tends to have a lot of interaction with the other drug system. So it's really, really important for us to consider all of that if we go into a career of forensic toxicology or any forensic discipline. We cannot deal with things in isolation. When people said to me, this is another driving under the influence case, doctor, it's like, okay, Ramirez. I said, what does the name have to do with the case? Why are you throwing your shite, your bias to me? Why are you telling me the last name? Why are you giving me this bias? The officers are doing their job, but they're not letting me do my job, independent of their bias. So look at the totality that is needed. For example, very often, I ask people who come to me as attorneys, defense or prosecution, say, okay, so you have here a blood alcohol concentration. Tell me a little bit about the person. Man, woman, trans. They're like, man. How old? 42. What race? Why? Are you racist? No, I know biology. I'm not racist. The fact is that different racial genetic makeups absorb, eliminate, and transform drugs differently. I don't expect officers to know that, but I should actually ask all the right questions. You need to ask the right questions and put them in place when they don't give you the right information. And you need to build that confidence. When a police officer pulls their gun and casually leaves it on your desk, your question is, stretching your gun? Are you planning to shoot me in my office? What's up? You don't like what I'm saying? Leave. Because forensic science is independent. We may work with people, but not for their agendas. So now what happens to the body? Well, as I mentioned, alcohol gets absorbed, gets eliminated, gets transformed. All of this needs to be considered. And the human body is so beautifully different. Look around you. Where's your twin? Where's your identical twin? Did you leave them at home? You didn't have one? Oh, sorry. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of people don't have twins. And even identical twins, as they go through life, they change from being a carbon copy of each other to being a carbon copy that has been affected by environmental factors. So no two people are identical, and you have to ask everything: gender, age, body composition, health status, all of that. Now, this is something that I like to put up when I am asked, well, what are the factors that go into making your opinions known to the jurors? I'm like, all of this. the dose, how much did they drink, the concentration. Was it a 10% wine? Was it a 40% aguardiente? What was it? Uso? Beer? Also, how fast? Were they drinking? Did they drink 2 bottles of wine over 8 hours? Or did they drink 2 bottles of wine over 20 minutes? Very different drinking profile. But then there's so much more. Who is the person that is doing the drinking? What food did they have in their stomach, for example? You know, fatty food delays the absorption of alcohol. So I ask people, what did you have for dinner when you were drinking? Well, you know, I had some pizza. I had mozzarella. And then I dipped some bread with olive oil, you know, that Italian stuff that they give you. So fat, and fat. You are covering the inside of your stomach with a layer of fat, making absorption of alcohol nearly impossible, delaying absorption of alcohol. I am asking not because I am a chef in the making. I'm asking because I need to get my science right. And genetics, the future, polymorphism, toxicogenetics. If you have somebody who knows pharmacology here and you have a geneticist in the room, that's a match made in heaven. And their bank account will be skyrocketing because in the future, that's how we are going to be administering medicine and science. So besides all this, look at all this. The effects on skin. Has anybody seen their mates, their friends, whose face becomes red, flushed when they drink alcohol? Why? Is it because they're embarrassed? No. Does anybody know? Their race. You're almost there. What's happening with the race? Come on. I have Greek chocolate to give. You're getting a piece. You think I'm lying, huh? It travels. Wasn't lying. Milk chocolate from Europe. Okay, fine, you're getting some, professors, too. So the race was one answer. Would you try, please? I'm going to tell you my old grandmother's. No, I'm lying. My grandmother's recipe did not have any. You can pass it around. I know. So anybody, I'm coming back. I promise. Okay. Anybody? Oh, where's my ticket? Blood pressure? No. So the race is very close. Oh, yes. Oh, have you been reading my slides? You're getting the good show. The person who just spoke said because alcohol causes vasodilation. Blue chocolate for you. By the way, there is a saying where I come from: beware of Greeks bearing gifts. All right, I'm going to try. You're going to take on absolutely back there. All right, so vasodilators, I love it. So it dilates our blood vessels. Our blood vessels become bigger, more blood flows through. What color is blood? Red. That's why we're becoming red. What is it that makes some people vasodilate more than others? The race, the genetic makeup, especially people of Asian predisposition and genetic profiles. They have less of an enzyme that causes that vasodilation. I love it. Here are some things that slow the rate of absorption. Food. We mentioned pizza with mozzarella and some olive oil. Smoking cigarettes. How many of you smoke nicotine? I love it. That's good. I saw you there. I saw you. I can't reach to throw you my clicker. I need it. Cut it out. It's bad for you. Now, there are some also things that increase the rate of absorption. Low blood sugar. The most popular surgery in the world right now, gastric bypass. So all of these things you need to learn. This is not because I want to be their friend. This is because I need to provide the best science I can. So here I have, I think, a video that might show the vasodilation. But this is really what's happening. And this is what happens when you stop drinking. Okay? Now, I recognize that some people in this audience, statistically speaking, have a heavy drinker in their day-to-day lives. And if that's the case, you're not a problem and you're not the problem. But there is now a community called this university where you can get support and help. Because I'm going to talk about a lot of substances and issues that will actually maybe affect you. You don't have to suffer in silence. That's all I say to all of my students. Now, what about your esophagus? Ugh, gross. Doctor, why are you putting sick esophagus? This is it. This is your esophagus on alcohol. On the right-hand side, not good. How about the movement of eyes? There is a reflection there, so I can't see. I'm going to go up. Is this working?
Yes.
And what about this?
Yes.
Top one, eyes with no alcohol. Bottom one, eyes on alcohol. Our eyes have 6 little muscles each that help them move in synchronicity. I want to check him out or her out or them out. Otherwise, I would see double. I would be virtually impaired. Alcohol has this amazing ability to cause horizontal gaze nystagmus on the bottom, jumping from one spot to the other. Instead of smooth tracking, you jump. Which means you could miss the detail of that little child riding her bicycle in front of your car. Okay? Now, what about analysis? Oh gosh, how am I doing? Oh my goodness, I'm getting a red card. Okay, so alcohol can be analyzed in so many ways. Breath, blood. You know, I have to tell you, when my PhD supervisor said to me, Nikolas, you have 2 options. Fingernails, and I've been called the forensic manicurist all of my career, or fecal matter. I was like, are you joking? I'm not going to be spending 3 years analyzing fecal matter. Out of that question. Open to research, still, nobody has taken that project. Now, contamination, when we analyze for alcohol, you know, does anybody remember what is the antiseptic swabs alcohol content during the pandemic? What did we use? 70%, 80%, 90%? What's the legal limit of alcohol intoxication in the United States? Go ahead. 0.08%. 80%, 0.08. If your phlebotomist or police officers use the wrong antiseptic towelette to clean the skin where the vein will be punctured to get your blood, it is possible that from that 80%, you could get a 0.08. And I tell this to police officers, say, well, they look like a drunkard. You better find some alcohol, doctor. No, you better do good police science. Now, in the postmortem arena, we don't decontaminate or use antiseptics, but still, we need to be able to make sure that when we get blood, it's blood. There's so much controversy about blind sticks. The pathologist, the God's gift to humanity, is lazy. And instead of cutting open the body, visualizing the vein and getting blood out of it, they're like, I think the vein is over there somewhere. I'm just going to stick in a blind needle, move it around, suck, until something red comes out. And then we're good. Yes, but that's the liquid formerly known as blood, because it also has a lot of other fecal matter in it, including fat that you went through and other muscle and tissue. So bad evidence in, bad results out. If your specimens, Mr. or Mrs. or Dr. Pathologist, is not good enough, my toxicology will be a reflection. I promise you. So in hospital, very often, people get injured and then they get hospitalized. Well, let me tell you, the first thing that happens in a hospital, clinicians draw a blood, their first blood draw, the most precious evidence in any case, post-mortem. My goodness, they are like, we're out of chocolate. Stop talking, give us some more chocolate. I said that. Now you get the blue one, but pass it down, and you get the red one. So, as I was saying for the chocolate interruption, and that desperate look like, when is the chocolate coming out? So the fact is that when you go to the hospital, that first blood draw is the most precious evidence. We really, really, really want that blood. And it is the peri-mortem blood. So remember that you need to work with the clinicians, with the police, with the judiciary, hospital staff, the paramedics to use the right. So you cannot work in isolation. These people in this room, they will work with you or haunt you for the rest of your professional career. But let me tell you, occasionally you get an invitation saying, hey, Nicholas, you want to come to Puerto Rico? That's worth it. So, you need to know what specimen has been analyzed. Ask questions. Don't take things at face value. That's why I wanted to give you a little bit of my background so that, you're like, okay, this guy has been around, has seen it. I can listen to him and put up with his funny accent because he's been around. When we actually use urine, well, let me tell you, urine does not circulate in your brain. Although I have met some police officers that may want some. I love police officers. I was married to one of them as well. Yes, I have a collection of was. That comes with traveling all the time for cases, by the way. Home is like, nah, that's not good. So there are costs to a successful career. You will sometimes sacrifice. And I was talking to somebody who said to me, what's up with the dog tie? Unconditional love. They're puppies. So you lose some, you win some. Now, urine is a waste product. It's sitting outside your body in something called the urinary bladder. When it gets full, you get the urge to go urinate. That is not an accurate reflection of what you have drunk. You're not under the influence of what's in your urinary bladder. It's a waste product. So you need to explore the possibility of how do we get a forensic specimen out of the urine. Vitreous humor, the liquid inside the eye, we don't collect that in living people. They hurt. But it's amazing because it has no bacteria. There is an incredible amount of research waiting to happen in the postmortem arena. We currently see 6-monoacetylmorphine, the breakdown of heroin, intact in vitreous humor. We can tell who used morphine or codeine versus heroin by checking out the vitreous humor. So the reason why I'm saying this is because all of this needs to happen if you're going to become a forensic something. You cannot be a technician and get paid salaries of forensic toxicologists. You cannot be a technician and be on a salary of a DNA person. You need to understand the science behind it, do it, as you will see here, my lab models who hesitantly post, I took pictures like, what kind of creepy person are you taking a picture of us? And so this is our instrument, a GC FID, flame ionization detector, about $60,000. And, this is the headspace. You put a file there, you put in the pressure, you evaporate it, heat it up. And then, there's a line, column. It goes into the analytical column there. And pretty much the files are one for each case. Pavlos, who needs to write his name on his mask in case he forgets when he looks in the mirror. So Pavlos is labeling there, and he's like, okay, Nicholas, stop, take the bloody picture and leave me alone. And then, we get some calibrators, first calibrators every day. We break them. And by the way, I have lawyers who come into the lab to observe this. They shadow us because they need to apply for certification. They need to say, I've seen it firsthand. It wasn't hearsay. I saw it myself. And then we pipette in accurately calibrated pipettes. I hope no name shows here. Okay. Then we cut the tamper-proof seal, very sophisticated, open it. Oh, but Dr. Lemos, how do you know this wasn't cut before? This is called a vacutainer. It actually, you attach it to the vein, which sucks the blood out because it has vacuum. Let me tell you, when you break it and put the vacuum and you put it back in, all of this area would be stained with blood. So, we do this and cap them, heat them up, mix them, and then Pavlos enters that in the sophisticated Agilent databases, love Agilent. And then, of course, he puts each specimen on the tray under the watchful eye of Ciniere, who double checks. So no work goes unsupervised. If you don't like your work checked, forensic science is not the right field for you. You're going to check and double check always, because the other side is in the business of doubt. They only need to raise doubt about your motives. Is it because he was Greek that he had no alcohol? About your attitude to a drug? Don't you drink alcohol, Dr. Lemos? I've seen you out in San Francisco drinking wine with your steak the other day. The jurors only need to hear that. And of course, the best, Dr. Lemos, you're not good enough to practice in Greece, but here you're an expert. They just need to make impressions. And if they get under your skin, they won. So there it is, tandem, Pavlos and Ciniere working, he's placing, she's checking, and then she's signing that she verified. These are the specimens, and here is, now that they open, you can see the red stains, right, in the stopper. And then, the analytical results come out, and then this super cool director comes out, I think his name is Nikolas, and he checks everything and signs. 3 people for a single alcohol measurement. That's the burden of forensic sciences. That's what you will need to do. And so we issue reports, we provide packages to the court, and we go and testify. And this is the subclinical euphoria, excitement, confusion, stupor, coma, and death. By the way, this is something that has been written by the incredible Kurt Dubowski from Indiana University. I had the pleasure of once getting extremely drunk with him. We were doing correlation study. The more you drink, the more paralytic you get. Never told me that I would become incontinent of my urine. But, it can happen. And so the fact is that according to Dubowski, the average human being at 0.45% is dead. Well, just about 8 months ago in Wisconsin, a young college person was driving, not well, but was driving with 0.85%. Yeah, expensive date. Can I touch a little bit? Okay, so I'm going to touch very quickly on cannabis. And the reason is because it is the drug that got me to travel the most around the world. And it's a drug that was actually first found in China. And it moved to Europe. It is used for pretty much everything under the world. In Europe, it was O'Shaughnessy, an Irish surgeon who was vacationing in, the Ottoman Empire back then, Greece and Turkey of modern times. And in the USA, it became popular when? With alcohol prohibition. New Orleans becomes the first center of cannabis. Now, I know cannabis in Puerto Rico is legal for medicinal with a recommendation. Yeah, it's not a prescription. It's a recommendation by a physician who's not licensed to do that. Hey, I'm Greek. Trust me, I'm Greek. That's all I'm going to say. Now, there's so much to talk about cannabis. I have actually a course dedicated to cannabis, and I hope at some point I will get invited back to give you 5 days of all the cannabis fun stuff you want. But I can tell you that sativa and indica, THC and CBD, stop smiling. I get it. You smoke it. Stop smiling. Stop giggling. I'm not looking at you, sorry. You're gonna make me smile too. So the fact is that sativa stimulating, indica kind of seducing. You're like an idiot. Okay? So this is how it is. But the problem is that when you go now to dispensaries, they have so many hybrids that nobody knows what is anything. You know, they say sativa for the day because it keeps you alert, indica for the night because it lets you relax. Well, let me tell you, 62 million Americans in 2023, 12 years or older, used cannabis. 62 million Americans. That's the population of Germany. As you all know, 1996, California, the Cali Compassionate Use Act. And then in 2004, Senate Bill 420. Yeah. And then every April 20th, Snoopy has a concert where everybody is absolutely. He's one amazing person for his own agenda. Now, let me also tell you that there is money involved in cannabis. This is not to make you feel good. Okay? Now, those of you who remember Bill Clinton, when he was accused of smoking cannabis when he was in English, like, I only tried it once and I never inhaled. Anybody old enough to remember that quote? Only me. Okay, fine. Barack Obama, he's like, dude, that was the point. I was smoking it and inhaling frequently. The attitudes are changing, big time. We have completely decriminalized things in California. So if you're 18, you can go and get cannabis. And let me tell you, that means that in 2024, $30 billion changed money because of cannabis. So if you think this is just because of the plant, think again. It's big money. People make money. I have never seen a cannabis dispensary owner in San Francisco driving less than a Lamborghini while I'm driving my Vespa. So this is cannabis. And this, the 30 billion that I said, is more than the annual budget of each and every of these countries around the world. Please don't think it's about the drug. There is money involved. This is the city and county of San Francisco, 7 square miles. That's it, 7 by 7. All of these are dispensaries, all of them. You can walk down the street of San Francisco getting high without ever smoking, just breathing. Happens to me all the time. And you know, they put this, they have to have an educational element, so they put information and then they put prices. And the funny thing is that they do this. They say, oh, this had 29% THC. So I went to one of these dispensaries in my capacity. I said, I'm not here to arrest you, I'm here to learn from you. How exactly did you determine this? Oh, we used high performance liquid chromatography. It's like, okay, what quality controls did you use? Quality what? Okay, excellent. So we take some of these samples and we analyze them ourselves. If you believe these numbers, then I have a lot of land to sell you en masse. They absolutely are completely impossible. I have never found something that matches what's on the table, on the label. Never. Here is something now that is becoming the drug du jour, CBD. It's not going to make you high like cannabis because it's soothing. It relaxes you. It's so fantastic. And you know, it is the counterpart of THC. You can use it for anything. Here, you have something that is 90% THC, 10% THC, 90 CBD. You don't like that? How about if I flip it off? This is now 90% THC, 10 CBD. You sure or not sure? How about I said you have now 50% CBD, 50% THC. The business is booming and the labels are lying. So if you're a consumer, you have every freedom, but you are taking your health in your hands. And by the way, they come in popcorn and brownies and muffins and chocolate. Did you like this chocolate from Greece? I'm kidding. I'm gonna write it up. They're gonna arrest me. Yeah, officer, I'm not kidding. Sorry. When I was growing up, this was a vending machine that made it to Greece, and I thought, wow, cool, American invasion. And then, you know, French can, the dance. Now, this is what we have in San Francisco, right? Disposable, put in your car, give us your money, buy whatever. It includes lighter, pipe, and papers. That's all you need. So now, what about the body? I'm wrapping it up. I know I saw you, officer. So it is really, we don't know what it is. Is it legal? Is it illegal? Is it good? Is it bad? We found a system in the human body that all of you and me have, the endocannabinoid system. And there are 5 endocannabinoids that have been identified. The first one, it's called anandamide. Now, anandamide in this language means extreme happiness and one of the highest states of being. Okay, so I think that the godfather here had an interest in naming it. The endocannabinoids are very different. Now, look, these are all long carbohydrates. Nothing fancy about these endocannabinoids, but we also have the phytocannabinoids, the plant cannabinoids. And every time you smoke a joint, I think you do it like this. First of all, you inhale much deeper, so more carcinogens go down you. But also the act of pyrolysis creates more than 2,000 new unknown poisonous or possibly beneficial compounds. This is the cannabinoid. These are the cannabinoids from the plant. Nothing to do with the endocannabinoids. So, and this is the metabolism. I want to point out to you something that is really important. This compound, 11-hydroxy-THC. 11-hydroxy-THC is a compound that breaks down between THC, which is the active, primary active cannabinoid, and carboxy-THC, the inactive metabolite. Hydroxy-THC is active, and it's equipotent with THC. Problem: if you eat the cannabis product, because of your acidic pH in your stomach, you're actually getting 2 cannabinoids. You get much, much, much higher and for a much, much longer period of time. Because when you smoke, you only get THC. When you eat, you get THC and hydroxy. Free advice there for those of you who have never tried it. CB1 and CB2 receptors, I know. They are found everywhere. But the biggest thing that I want to tell you about is that CB2 receptors, huge proposal for depression and drug addiction treatments. Also promise for Alzheimer's disease. Now, if you listen to the cannabis lobby, you know cannabis is the answer to every disease that we have ever seen. And you probably all know Larry. Have you seen Larry before? A few seconds for Larry, and then we'll wrap it up. Now, Larry is on the and Larry will take for the first time a drop of CBD. Now, look at Larry now.
How you feeling? I've been over a week. Really? The best way to take it is put it under your tongue to rub it in good shape.
Now, Larry's quality of life here is questionable. Although he's happy and content, he's suffering in some aspects.
Sleep all.
Nobody can argue with this.
You know, you should do. No, don't try to communicate. Just relax. See what
A few
happens.
minutes pass.
We know from animal experiments that
This is not me, this is my colleague's voice at UCSF.
regulating motor activity, the very type of activity that
6 minutes later now, I think.
from animal experiments, we also know that boosting certain branches of the endocannabinoid system is helpful in relieving symptoms of Parkinson's. Finally, from anecdotal information, we know that certain patients who smoke marijuana experience relief of their symptoms. I think you're calm down. Amazing.
He used just a single drop, and his hands afterwards were rock steady, and the dyskinesia left.
He can talk, no shaking. And he has the munchies.
Anyone?
All right. So the fact is that nobody can argue with this, okay? This is the kind of video that the people pro can, but this is a one drop to a naive user who had a medical condition under control and using a properly created product. This is not your average Joe taking drugs on the streets of San Juan or anywhere. So, and these are possible effects of cannabis intake. One of the biggest issues is the increase in heart rate. One of my dear friends that I met through TF, Dr. Marilyn Hustis, used to do a lot of work with volunteers, giving them cannabis, the only federal program that would administer cannabis. And she used to say to me, Nicholas, at 7 minutes after they smoke, their heart rate goes crazy. They have a tachycardia. Now, when you're 20, you can survive it because you have a healthy heart. But if you're 60 and you're unhealthy and obese and tired like me, you may not survive it. So again, very important. Also, and again, a whole lecture, but I want to tell you that they put people in a van in Holland, and there was one smoker, everybody in that van tested positive. Everybody. Passive inhalation is real. If you're next to a friend who's smoking, everything that has fibers, your clothing, your hair, everything will smell, and you will inhale things, and you will test positive at your job drug screening test. So be careful. Now, as far as analysis is concerned, I want to move quickly because I'm getting behind. We used to be able to get drug-free blood from the blood banks of San Francisco. Then we used to go to Utah. They used to give us, but they started testing positive as well. So now we have Charlie. Charlie's our resident pig, and Charlie gives us blood every so often, so we can actually use it as certified blood. And then I go around the lab and ask people to pee in a cup in the privacy of the toilet, so that we can get the certified urine. A typical analysis with cannabis screening, possibly a Randox that was placed in my lab recently. Confirmation and quantitation, we definitely want to confirm and quantitate because it is really the dose that makes the difference between poison. Let me tell you, meeting my mom once a week, perfect dose. Once a day, a problem. Every day of the week. So different dose, different effect, okay? The dose makes the difference between medicine and poison. For anybody who knows chromatography, this is pure euphoria. This is beautiful. I mean, this is better than sex in some cases. Honestly. Yeah, nerds, right? Nerds in my lab, all of them. So here's a postmortem case that I want to talk to you about. Look, THC 10, hydroxy 0.6, carboxy 180. That's a typical postmortem case. Here's another postmortem case with THC 19, hydroxy 34. Anybody knows? Did they eat it or did they smoke it? Come on, say it. They ate it. The hydroxy is there in high amounts. They ate it. You know, look for the muffin. Look for the whatever you want to look. Now, this is a urine case, very little. But now, I have a problem here. This is a postmortem case that has CBD, but no THC. And this is the problem. Because CBD is starting to be treated like such a benign drug that people take it. But CBD is a sedative. It calms you down. It relaxes you. If you combine this with alcohol, you have a lot of problems. As a matter of fact, our most common drug profile now in drug-facilitated sexual assaults on campuses is alcohol and CBD. Two sedatives together. So anybody who is a user, good for you. You pay probably for my next trip. I love you. Keep doing what you're doing. However, don't put yourself in danger. Alcohol and CBD, drug-facilitated sexual assault, most common drug profile. Death. And I'm wrapping it up now because death is the end. You know, everybody kept on telling me, why are you even testing postmortem cases for cannabis? Nobody has ever died of cannabis. was like, how do you know? Have you ever tested? Well, no, but they haven't. So we started doing a random test with 30 cases and we tested everybody. Now look at the age, 38 years old, the mean age of cannabis positive cases. These are not teenagers. These are middle-aged adults or young adults, senior adults, not senior adults, what I mean, mature adults, low middle-aged. These are, and look at the male to female. We're talking a lot more men with cannabis in their system. This is the first publication ever on the topic. And it was just 1 month before the second publication by Marian Eustace. She wasn't happy. We found out that this is a big issue. Cannabis in death cannot be correlated to cannabis in the living. We need to have a brand new attitude of how to interpret post-mortem cannabinoids. So the post-mortem interval, another big issue, how long between death and the time you sample? How long was it? So again, we have huge variation and the post-mortem interval is not good. You cannot correlate. Cannabis at death is not correlatable to the living people's cannabis. It's not. Why? Because cannabis is lipophilic, likes fat, and when we die, our body becomes more alkaline, more fat-like. So the distribution of it is all over the place. The biggest issue that we found is this. All of the people who had cannabis, the vast majority of them had some sort of cardiac condition going on when they were alive. So we started looking at the cardiology literature, and look, the living cardiologists are useful. They publish about the effects of cannabis in the heart, but the pathologists are clueless, the forensic pathologists. So we started looking at our cases for a year, 1,338 cases, and we found that again, 40%, 40 years old, the average, cannabis in every possible case, and here, sorry, I went too fast. In natural deaths, a lot of hydroxy-THC. People with natural disease self-medicate with food items containing cannabis. And their death toxicology shows it, the 77 there. Homicides, 3 times the average. It's as if they're so high out of their mind that they don't understand they're about to die. Or they're so high, they're so annoying, I'm going to blow you up just because you're pissing me off. Either way, the fact is that the numbers correlate with the death types. And Marian Eustace had told us about the hydroxy-THC, but before her, in 1973, we knew about the lipophilicity of fat. So if you want to do some research, do research on BMI, like we did, and cannabis intoxication. We found out that, as a matter of fact, most of the people who died were in their 40s, like the average, except the homicide victims, 10 years younger. And people who died with natural disease, 10 years older. These seniors were self-medicating with eating cannabis. And we also found out this scary thing, that the heart rate in the natural deaths was a bigger ratio. Cardiomegaly, it's called. So we took a closer look and we discovered something that may be infamous. Women with cannabis and heart disease are likely to die. But you know what? Most research happens in white, middle-aged, healthy men. So I see a lot of women here, at least people that I identify as women presenting, do the research. Your sex is not represented in the research that is out there, but you're dying. So I became very famous because I issued a warning, and I became public enemy #1. That I am telling people cannabis is not good. No, I don't care what you do, as I said. Cannabis has been around much longer than I will be, and will be around for much longer than I will be. The fact is that women with natural disease, if they take cannabis, they have a greater risk of dying. That's something you need further to investigate. And finally, effects and driving. Don't smoke and drive. cannabis that is. And the reason for that is because it does all of this. First of all, it makes you go 30 at a 65 miles per hour zone. Dude, pick it up, okay? We can all see the smoke coming out of your car. Just pull over, smoke, and then, slip it off. And that you can do. The other very important thing that I want to tell you is cannabis has a fantastic thing with your eyes. You saw how I don't have a video yet, but I will. I promise next time I come here. Alcohol makes horizontal gaze nystagmus, so it jumps from one place to another. Cannabis has lack of convergence. So the officer brings their light near the nose of the subject, and the two eyes converge to the nose, and then one of them looks away. It's the freakiest show on earth. I promise you. If you see it, you're gonna die. Don't die, but you know what I mean. So the United States government didn't want to do the research here. So what they did, they went to Hollywood. They got people stoned, and they drove in the city of Maastricht in a dual control car, a drunk or stoned driver and a sober instructor. And so let's see what the results. This is our legal limit. This is the European Union's limit, 0.05. This is bloody Sweden. 0.02. Right. So when you have nothing, you drive as if you have nothing. When you have 0.04 ethanol, you drive on the Dubowski chart as if you have a BAC of 0.04. Cool. When you have low or high THC, you drive as if you have 0.06 ethanol. So low or high THC on itself, 0.06. But when you have low THC and 0.04 alcohol at the same time, that doubles the impairment to 0.09. As if you had been drunk, 0.09. And if you have high THC and 0.04, and by high THC, I'm talking high potency joint, you're going to a 0.14, even though your real BAC is only 0.04. So drug-drug interaction there, not good. And remember, alcohol and cannabis, drug-facilitated sexual assault. Reaction time, how quickly will I stop when a stop sign appears suddenly in front of me? Well, let me tell you, if you have high THC and alcohol, it takes 6.3 seconds extra for you to stop. You know what that means? 140 feet more distance. Do you know how many children you can kill if you drive 140 more feet? So this is the second publication with the most cool title, Driving Under the Influence versus Driving and Dying Under the Influence of Cannabis, published by my team. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for your patience. And I understand you may have questions, social, I don't know, here you are.
Vamos a pasar a si tienen preguntas de la conferencia, de confianza, ¿verdad? No sientan temor. Y luego de eso, pues el doctor Lemos está disponible para cualquier duda que los estudiantes tengan respecto a oportunidades para ustedes, lo que ustedes le quieran preguntar, ¿está bien? Así que si hay alguna pregunta.
I think she said I need more friends. Right? Is that what she said? I knew it. That lingua phonic came handy.
Any question about the...
You're going to do it now. Okay, let me drink some water. I'm coming right back.
Hi, doctor. Thank you so much for your time and on behalf of everybody for your patience to educate us. So I wrote down a question to address current trends emerging from the substance cocktails we see nowadays. And my question is, with the increasing prevalence of synthetic drugs, what are the biggest challenges you're seeing today in forensic toxicology?
Excellent. So those of you who haven't heard this, with the prevalence of novel psychoactive drugs, what are the biggest challenges? Now, the time that I spoke to you, which is about an hour and 10 minutes or longer, China has produced about 25 new synthetic drugs. They're coming out like crazy. And the Chinese government is actually doing everything they can to limit that production. Unfortunately, it's happening. And these drugs are unknown to the producers. Their effects are a challenge. And they definitely do not exist in our libraries or reference data. So, first of all, knowing that they exist is a challenge. And for that, we have border control, who of course now spend their time taking my maid out of the country and letting everybody else come in the drugs, whatever. I also have a lot of issues with border control around the world because their job is to safeguard the borders from known dangers. They do their best, they seize a lot of drugs, but sometimes those tests don't get to us as toxicologists, so we can warn people. So communicating with the crime labs and the border patrols and forces is key. What do they see on the fields? What do clinicians see in the emergency room? Because that's what will end up in our forensic cases. There are efforts, both in Europe and in the USA, with early warning systems. But I can tell you right now, confidently, that in my lab, we probably miss at least 100 compounds. There are people who die, and because nobody has seen the structure of this drug, we can't even identify it. So we just write down unknown cause of death or cardiac arrest due to something else. And that something else is there because we saw it, we have it in the library. It could be cocaine laced with anything, but that anything, we don't know what it is. There is no quality control in street drugs. And that's why I actually don't necessarily mind what Portugal has done. They have legalized every drug. Every drug. And their attitude is, if I have a daughter or a son, and they have developed a drug addiction, I'd rather they go to the hospital and get what they need under supervision produced by the government, instead of at the dark corner of Lisbon, who knows what they are injecting and how long they're going to be alive. Their legalization of substances has dropped down their death rates from drug overdoses 60%. So that is a huge challenge for us. Keep the streets safe, freedoms available, but also keeping up with what's out there. Thank you. Anybody else?
Okay. Hello.
Hi.
So in the presentation, you said that fatty foods slow down the absorption of alcohol. And it also said like smoking cigarettes also slowed it down.
Right.
I want to know why cigarettes do that, because I can understand the fatty foods, but not the cigarettes.
Sure. Thank you for that. For those who, I think everybody heard because there was a microphone. So what is it with nicotine that slows down alcohol consumption? Well, there is a set of receptors that nicotine binds to, and those receptors use a compound called NADH. And that NADH is needed for alcohol absorption. So if that body has a limited number of NADH molecules and they're occupied dealing with the poison that you just delivered in your lungs, they're not available to deal with the poison that you just swallowed in your stomach. They let the stomach deal. So it is a matter of not having enough tools to process the second drug. We don't have infinite molecules of every enzyme we need. We have limited numbers. So remember, drug-drug interactions, a huge field of research right now. If I had the opportunity to supervise or suggest any projects to you, drug-drug interactions and genetic polymorphism. Thank you. Any other questions?
Si no hay más preguntas, pues si tienen, if you have any question, not about the presentation,
Career,
exactly, internship opportunities for students, go ahead.
hi.
Thank you a lot for the presentation and the explanation. I'm still in high school, so
Okay.
yeah. So I was able to understand a lot of the things that you said. What I wish to know is like, what scholarships do you think I could take to go to maybe like Europe or the USA?
You will be, the question of course is about funding.
And let me tell you, although forensic science is very sexy on TV, it's not very sexy when it comes to funding. Okay, there is the CSI effort factor in everything but funding. So there are opportunities. For example, I'll tell you right now, TIAFT, the International Association of Forensic Toxicologists, has an exchange program where they fund people to go and visit a lab to learn something from them and then bring it back to their own country, to their own facility. Also, the opposite happens. They say to people, hey, you know, there is a new instrument in the country of Libya. Can you go there and help them set it up? So there are opportunities for these professional organizations. The American Academy of Forensic Sciences is another organization that really prioritizes school children, students, and young university students. A lot of funding opportunities. As a matter of fact, they have the Student Academy that they host every year, where every city they go to, they bring students from that city and they actually have them see what's going on in the research presented for the week. So it's not easy. And there's no book where I can send you, or website that I can send you to go. You have to do some really, you have to look very hard. But don't be stupid like I was. Let me tell you about a story. When I finished in Buffalo, Professor John Mayer said to me, you got to go to John Jay. I was like, okay, I'll go to John Jay. So here I am, a kid from Greece, you know, John Jay. I went to the library, and then we had a college book, a catalog of books, a catalog of all the colleges in a book. You have to flip through and find. Anybody remembers that? So I went to Jay, couldn't find John Jay. Could find John Hopkins, not John Jay. Took me 4 months to pull the courage and tell to the professor, is John Jay a fictional university? Because I can't find a catalog that says John Jay. He's like, where are you looking at? I said, there. He said, under J? I said, well, it's John Jay. It's like, it's under C. I said, what? How stupid are you? Why is it on the C? City University of New York, dude. John Jay College of Criminal Justice. I had missed the deadline because I wasn't brave enough to ask my professor admit defeat. So you have now the opportunity to become my LinkedIn friend like somebody else did. And you have other people here. You can ask. You can say, hey, I'm a high school student and I want to go a place where I can see different specialities and help me decide. Research Triangle Institute, RTI, in the Carolinas. I don't remember if it's north or south, to be honest. In Raleigh. North Carolina. There you go. Research Triangle Institute. The Center for Forensic Science Research and Education in Philadelphia. Those are American institutions whose job is to educate and recruit young people and young curious minds. And these are just two. There are many more. So reach out, ask questions, go online, and if you don't find John Jay, ask Nikolas, under what letter will I find it? All right? Another one?
Another one?
How do you write that? See what's behind the hard side.
John Jay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Spell it.
John Jay. John, like the name, Jay, Jay. Apparently he was a Chief Justice of the United States. And it's the City University of New York.
I think that he was the first.
He was the first. I mean, well, thank God there's somebody who knows their stuff in the room. Thank you, Professor. All right, any other questions?
Hello.
Yes, hi. You snuck in there. How can I?
So I'm studying forensic
Forensic life?
science,
Okay.
right? And I'm still like between pathology and toxicology. So
Okay.
like I'm still torn. But if I were to go with toxicology, what path do you
Okay.
you recommend?
Excellent question. So first of all, let me tell you about pathology. Now I'm going to talk to you about toxicology. Oh, I'm sorry, this is being recorded, huh? So pathology is a great discipline, but requires medical school and then residency and internship. So, you will be about 55 before you pay your student loans off. Toxicology is not that easy, but it has a more direct route. So I'll tell you a secret. The more educated you become, the less desirable you become for an employer to hire you in an entry-level position. So a bachelor's is a great entry-level position. A master's is even better because that shows also you can do some independent, unsupervised research, all right, and present and publish. If you decide to wait until you do a PhD to look for your first job because you like DR in front of your name, kudos to you, but there will be fewer positions for you because a PhD is a senior person who would go either as an expert, a senior toxicologist, or even a director of a lab. So my advice is I saw your curriculum here, and let me tell you, I've been in many universities in my 28 years of life. And let me tell you, you have a solid curriculum here. Congratulations to all of you who completed. It's really good. Powerful stuff. You will come out of here flying. Now, how far you fly is up to you. They've given you the wings. You need to make sure you know how to travel. So my advice is get that bachelor's and don't worry too much about specializing now. The employers will look for the bachelor's. Do you have it? Is it a good, solid university you have it from? Or did you buy it online from, a crazy place in Greece, Lemos University, whatever. The fact is you're doing something good here. Masters, if you decide to enroll in a master's, then things are getting serious because you're boxing yourself into a career. Okay, you are now saying, I'm going to become a toxicologist. I'm going to learn how to kill Nikolas and get away. But you're not never going to do it, right? So the fact is, masters will get you the specialization, but that will only allow you to open doors in that specialization. I definitely advocate for a master's. I always look more favorable to people with masters because of this independent ability to do independent work, present and defend the work in front of a group of peers. Because the jury is a group of your peers. So do your bachelor's, think about a master's. The medical school is a formidable achievement if you can afford it, time-wise and money-wise, go for it. The world needs another prima donna.
If I were to do my master's, is there like any recommendation on where to do it
Right.
or like what to specialize in?
So there are university guides. I'm going to use the official one. The American Academy of Forensic Sciences has a list of universities that they have looked at and vetted at different levels. Now, I have a lot of American students who come to my medical school in London, and they do a master's in forensic medical sciences. Autopsy is included, crime scene is included, forensic human identity is included. The biggest issue for this is that you need to relocate to a very cold place. And you will need to learn to drink tea and speak English. But the important thing for you to know is that tuition is a problem. There is an organization in the United States that is looking at the quality of all the programs offered. So go to the American Academy of Forensic Sciences. You can even join as a student member and start looking at different universities and different programs. This university, for example, is undergoing a process called accreditation. This is incredible because there's 1,000 other universities who are not putting themselves through this. This university is making an effort to ensure quality. to ensure there is a value to the paper you're going to get when you finish. Other universities don't. So look very critical, okay? Anything else?
Yeah, I have a question.
We're going to the back and then we'll come back to the front. Yes.
Good afternoon. You said that they're creating new drugs, and when they died, you put unknown causes. Isn't there any pattern between the drugs you created, or is just something entirely new?
Right.
Also, one important question: where's my juggler?
Oh my God. I cheated the car. All right, so I failed with the chocolate and he's leaving, but I will answer the question nonetheless. So the problem is that these drug creators, synthesizers, they do it for different reasons, including money, fame, credit among their peers. And so we have no information, none. And we have a big issue because in America, many other Western countries, the laws are written against a specific drug. So you say it is illegal for Nikolas to be at the workplace with cocaine in his blood at this concentration area. You don't say it is illegal to be at your workplace with anything. So the laws are written for specific drugs, and we don't know the specific structures. We're playing catch up. Cocaine has a very good cousin called Novocaine. Does anybody know what Novocaine is? I have no chocolate to give.
It's a sedative used in dentistry.
Dentistry. Every time you go to get something, no chocolate for you, but thank you. I will accept your LinkedIn request. So every time you go to the dentist, before they inject you or do something with your teeth, they actually give you this local anesthetic called Novocaine. One little tiny molecule away from cocaine. One is legal, the other is illegal. So we have to be very specific. Okay? Anything else? Oh, yes, there is a question up here. Hold on, we're going back.
Hello again.
Hi.
So at the very beginning, one of my professors said that you've been a part of like more than 300 cases. Is that correct?
So the statistic, if you want to write my eulogy in my death, is that I have actually worked on 58,000 cases. I have testified in 350 cases.
Okay, now having cleared that up, which one do you think was the most challenging?
For who? For me?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me tell you, excellent question. The psychology of a forensic scientist is rarely checked, but we see so much death, destruction, and bad behavior that we are scarred for life. Testament to that, a collection of divorces that I have. I'm not a bad person. I just assume the worst in everybody I see because I've seen it all happen. You know, we got into the elevator to come up here. You know how many cases I had with people dying in elevators? 2,000. We drove to come here. You know how many car accident deaths I have? I took a plane to fly here. I worked in 3 plane crashes. The fact is that everything that we do has a depiction of the work that we bring in. Children, cases with children. Mommy is working and left auntie to look after the young boy. Auntie wants to bring her boyfriend in, and the boy is crying. Well, let's give him some sleeping pills. 4 hours later, the boy's dead. Why? Because the aunt wanted to get, as they say in Britain, a shag. Stupidity. House being sold. The new owner decides to do a new front lawn and garden. 4 big planters. One of them has a palm tree that doesn't look very good. They remove it. Dead child buried in there. How can I sleep at night? Right? It's very difficult. So, psychotherapy in the agencies that we work once a week. Why? Because otherwise I would never leave my bed. I would hide. This is a very difficult profession. Also, people who get date raped. Young student, just the other week, I had this young female crying in my desk in my office because the toxicology came back negative. And she felt that nobody believed her because there was no evidence. She was like, but I never said yes. I know my body. I was violated. And I don't behave in this way. There must have been something there. How do you make this broken person whole again? Never. You can never do that. You tried. You explain the limits of the science. We don't see every drug. Maybe something new appeared. Or maybe the officers took a long time to collect the evidence, the biological fluid, and by that time, it had been washed out of your body. I believe you. The symptomology that you present to me is consistent with drug-facilitated sexual assault. I will come testify to that in court. It's not my decision. The jury might like the accused and decide, no, she's lying, or, benefit of the doubt. And then I have to go home and be nice to a person who's like, you forgot to bring milk. Divorce papers. Next.
The last question.
Yes. Last question.
So I was wondering if you know any good research opportunities, either in the US or in Europe or other places in the world that would be good for undergrads like most of us to participate.
Excellent question. So this is where, there are the Center for Forensic Science Research and Education, Center for Forensic Science Research and Education has an excellent research program for young people who want to enter the field. They're based in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. The Research Triangle Institute, as I said, in California, there are a couple of research centers, but they are a little bit problematic. And let me tell you why. Because they're really pissing off the federal government. They're doing research with federally illegal substances, cannabis, mushrooms, LSD, MDMA.
Maybe they could find Barry Logan
Yeah.
in LinkedIn.
Absolutely. So, Barry Logan, Barry, B-A-R-R-Y, Logan, L-O-G-A-N, who is a Scottish person who graduated the year I started my PhD. He's now the director of the Center of Forensic Science Research and Education. So Barry is on LinkedIn. So we can all create a group. You have an association, right? You have an excellent association. So that association could actually write to Barry or to the Center for Forensic Science Research and Education and seek input, advice. Now in Europe, the European Union, which is a form of European version of the United States, it has 28 countries. They have opportunities for people to come to travel within Europe from one country to the other, but also outside of Europe into Europe. And it is a little bit more relaxed in Europe because in America, most organizations say you need to be of a certain age and have your degree already completed. Whereas in Europe, they're a little bit more relaxed and can take people. For example, I have taken 16-year-old high school students in London. They saw a lot of things, not autopsies, and they did not see a rape examination, but they did see a lot of other things that we provided. So we have opportunities. Opportunities are out there. LinkedIn and professional associations, the California Association of Criminalists, the Midwestern Association of Forensic Scientists, the Northeastern Association of Forensic Scientists. You, your teachers, me, we're all associated, or we should be associated with all of these, because that's where we have our tribes. We can talk to each other. You know, I had a student who wrote to me and said, I saw you in Honolulu doing an inspection of my lab and I loved your tie. She won me. I wrote the recommendation letter she needed. That's it. And it wasn't even the dog tie. It was a flower, stupid little tie. Anyway, but the fact is, that's it. You have a connection. Use it. All right? That was the last question.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Lemos.
you.
Thank you for attending to this conference. There is some coffee, juice, so you can take it. Okay? And if
No
you have-
booze, no blunts. They brought me here for the wrong reason.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
I want a chocolate.
Yeah.
I want a chocolate.
Okay.
Okay.